Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Bookmas, second vlog of Bookmas. Thank you so much for being here. Guess what happened yesterday? Guess what happened yesterday? It snowed a little bit. Just a little bit. It was baby snow. You know, the kind of snow that melts upon touching the ground. And that later in the day it turned into rain. But I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we got that little bit of snow, and also I am very grateful for the rain because I'm pretty sure that the plants needed it. I had to change my morning routine recently because going to the gym, unfortunately, it's not possible anymore, and my entire morning routine was revolved around gym, before gym, at the gym, after gym. It's just not possible anymore, which is fine. I have been really enjoying actually my new slow winter morning reading routine. It's really helping me to relieve a lot of stress because the past couple of months have been very stressful to me, and oh boy, when you're stressed out, your whole body is exhausted, and instead of going against it, I decided to work with it. It's helping that it's December and I have a lot of fairy lights in the apartment, so I like to turn on the lights. They also help me to relax and create, you know, that cozy morning environment. But probably the part that I enjoy the most is when I get to my tea and when I get to my books. I am one of those people who need to start their morning with being intentional, and I really need to set my head straight for the day, otherwise it's a complete disaster. And there are two books that I have been immensely enjoying lately because it does help me, and one of them is The Daily Stoic, and then the other one is a poetry collection, Devotions by Mary Oliver. When it comes to my morning, regardless what is the season and how I feel, I do like to read nonfiction and poetry in the morning. It just helps me get into the headspace where I want to be. For those of you who don't know, The Daily Stoic, it is basically a self-help book. I'm not against self-help book. I read quite a lot of self-improvement and self-help book, and I really like the way this one is built up because this basically has 365 meditations for the 365 days of the year, and today is December 7th, and for today the title of the meditation is The Cards Were Dealt, and these are just very short and sweet, every single one of them, you know, it's just one page or half a page, and I read this while I am drinking my little tea, and I really try to stew over the message. You know, sometimes I agree with the book, sometimes I disagree with the book. Some meditations are deeper than others, but you know, it also depends on who you are as an individual. And I have been immensely enjoying this book. And the other book is Devotions by Mary Oliver, and again, recently I've been really enjoying reading some poetry, and the idea is the same. I read 1 or 2 poems in this book every day. It's the collection of her most famous poems. I remember I wanted to buy Upstream by her, and I think I'm going to do it because I thought that Upstream is in Devotions, but only maybe like 1 or 2 poems of Upstream are in Devotions. So once I am done with that, I am definitely getting Upstream and maybe a couple of her other poetry collections because I love it. I know that she's a very famous poet, but this is my first time reading from her, and specifically I am reading poetry now from 1,000 Mornings, and I love it. I love it. So these 2 books have been my constant companions for the mornings, and honestly, I can recommend them. If you ever want to read nonfiction and poetry, I do think that it is the morning time. It's the best to read them. Today is surgery day. For those of you who don't know, I am getting a minor oral surgical procedure done, and I have been very stressed out about it, very anxious about it, and I have no idea what fiction book is going to be the first book we read in today's video. It's going to be a surprise for the both of us. I am off from work for a couple of days just to recover and make sure that everything goes well. So I will have plenty of time for reading, and I have a feeling that I will need that. I will need that because, again, I'm just exhausted and I need to spend some time with recovery. What I want to show you is a book, because I got something in the mail yesterday and I think I know exactly what this book is. I ordered this book in October, and it arrived on December 6th. But the point is that it's here. And it is the Sherlock Holmes book. Sherlock Holmes at the Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. Oh my God. Look how insanely thin this book is. And I had to wait 2 months for this one. And why was it so expensive? Oh my, I had no idea that this book is like, what, 50 pages? I did not know. Anyways, but look at the cover. Look at the beautiful Christmassy cover. You know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Why do they always have to put stickers? Does it come off? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the sticker comes off. Oh, I just love that bookshops, new or used, it doesn't matter, when they know what kind of stickers to put on their books. It's finally here. Oh, and by the way, I didn't like today's tea. So I decided to go back to my banana, honey bush banana nut something, and that never disappoints. That tea is just so good. All right, guys, when I am ready for the next check-in, I will pop in and we will discuss what I've been reading. See you guys in a couple of seconds. I think it's getting better. Yeah, it's finally getting better. Guys, I'm back. It's been now 5 days since my last update, and since surgery day everything went very well. I'm fine. I am still recovering and I am still in pain, but everything is fine. I got really good care, and I also got some pretty strong painkillers, and those things, let me tell you that those things work. I slept like a babe. In the past 5 days, I slept like a babe. Now, I foolishly thought, or maybe I should say naively thought, that I could use these couple of days that I have off from work and the weekend as well to catch up with myself a little bit, to rest and relax and call everybody in the family and watch some TV shows and also read the books that I have on my December TBR, right? Well, I don't know what I was thinking. Because I was out of it. My body was so exhausted that I just slept. I ate some mushy food, some baby food, and then I slept again. Like basically that was the program in the past couple of days, but that's what my body needed, so that's okay. I'm not gonna push it. I tried to pick up a couple of full-length books that I have on my December TBR, but I just couldn't focus. So luckily I have a couple of like picture books, novellas and short stories that I put on my TBR, and I picked up 3 of those books, and I did finish these 3 books, novellas I should say. And despite these books being very short, honestly every single one of these blew my mind. So let's just discuss them. The very first book, picture book, children's book that I finished was Snow Ghost, and I thought personally that it was a picture book, and then I realized that it's not a picture book. It is full with pictures and just simply beautiful art. And I think that in the b-roll I showed you a couple of pictures. I don't want to show the entire book, but it's got also some text in it, and it is a very beautiful and wholesome story on belonging and home. And I genuinely enjoyed it. Now this is obviously something that whether you read it or you read it for a child, or maybe a child is reading it, this is something that you can finish in like what, 10-15 minutes. It is insanely short, and while the story is beautiful and the art is beautiful, I don't doubt that the artist and the writers did a fantastic job. I do think that it is a little bit expensive for what it is, but would I recommend that you pick it up if you have a little bit of money to spare? Absolutely. The artwork definitely worth it, and the story is also, just like I said, very wholesome. Now the next book that I finished, guys, was Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. You guys, there are so many things I want to say about this book. This book moved me in more ways, in many more ways, that even a full-length book could. This is about 115 pages, so technically speaking it's a novella and not a short story. And you know, when I bought this book I was like, 20 bucks for this, that is like very expensive. But honestly, this book is worth every penny. It packs a punch. This book is very short, and because of that I do have to be very careful with what I say, because if you have not read this book I don't want to spoil it for you. And if you have read this book, could you please let me know in the comments below, because there are so many things that I want to discuss with you guys. What I can safely say though is that this book takes place in 1985, and it takes place in a small Irish town in the weeks leading up to Christmas. And we follow a coal merchant named Bill and basically his family and their everyday mundane little lives. Now Bill in this book is in existential anxiety, and this book is about him basically observing the world around him, and I found it incredibly interesting. Now again, this is just 115 pages long book, but when I tell you guys that there are so many sentences and so many quotes in this book that I underlined, and quotes that I will be carrying with me because they absolutely blew my mind. There are so many messages that we get in this book through Bill and through his actions, but one of the main messages in the book is how important baby steps are, because these baby steps in life and these small immediate actions, they can all add up to serve a long-term bigger change in life. And I really like that overall message, and I do want to read you this quote because I think that this is possibly my favorite, so you can get like an overall idea about the book and the writing style. Just exquisite. I know I don't have to come here and tell you that Claire Keegan is like an exquisite writer, and I'm so happy that this book worked for me because I DNF'd another one of her short story collection, and I was like genuinely scared that I would not like this book, but no, it blew my mind. And now I understand why they made it into a movie. Okay, let me just find that quote. This is possibly my favorite. He found himself asking, was there any point in being alive without helping one another? Was it possible to carry on along through all the years, the decades, through an entire life, without once being brave enough to go against what was there? There is also very serious critics in this book, and this is something that I have to mention. This is about the abuse of young women, and this book in many ways is a tribute to these young women who were abused by a certain establishment run by the church in this very small Irish town, and it is based on true story, and this establishment was closed down in 1993. And after I finished the book, I actually googled like the true story and the true establishment, because I wanted to read about these young women and what they actually had to suffer, and obviously it broke my heart. If you only want to read one book from this video, honestly, I recommend that you read small things like this, because the messages and everything that this book will make you see and will make you understand, and the depth and the different levels and the hidden messages, you do need to read between the lines when you read this book. You pick it up, you will not regret it, I can guarantee you. And then the last book that I finished, and again I also adored that book, and that is Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. And you guys probably remember that I put her books on my TBR because her books were compared to North and South, my, I don't know, one of my favorite English classics. And I also really adore the TV show, so you know, it was a no-brainer to me to pick up a Mimi Matthews book. I actually have another one on my TBR as well, but for now let's just talk about this one. I mean, first, can we just look at that cover? Super nice Christmassy cover, and also the atmosphere in this book. It was so nice, it was so Christmassy. The food, the clothes, the activities, the mistletoe and the kissing under the mistletoe. It was so nice. Honestly, it was so nicely done. Now, I know that I just mentioned kissing, and while we're talking about kissing, I just want to say that this book has absolutely no spicy scenes in it, because I know that when it comes to historical romance, sometimes it gets a bad rap of just being smut, which, me being a historical romance reader, I don't know why I looked at the I looked at the tree because I have now most of my historical romance books built into that tree. Anyways, it's actually not true. Like, there is so much more to those books than, you know, just the smut and the spicy scenes, but this one has none. Now, this book is about Sophie, and Sophie has a very irresponsible father, because he basically spent the family money, including Sophie and Sophie's sister's dowry, on renovating their country estate, because it was at a time when, you know, they introduced gaslight, and when they also introduced plumbing into the buildings in the Victorian era, and her father spent every single drop of that money, and because of that, her parents fostered a relationship between her and Edward, who is an incredibly wealthy merchant. He is kind of like a self-made man. He has a lot of money, and Sophie's father wants to exploit him and his money through Sophie. But unfortunately, they don't really like each other. At least they think that they don't really like each other. They couldn't hit it up, so they broke off. And then Sophie decided to change her mind and decided to give this relationship another chance, and she invited Edward and his parents to their country estate for Christmas, and that is why the book is titled Holiday by Gaslight. Now, I can totally see why people would compare this book to North and South, and I think that the author herself said that a couple of her novels are an homage to North and South, because when it comes to the characters, how the characters are and how they interact with each other, it is totally North and South-esque. Like Sophie, for example, is a very bold and a very headstrong character, and she's technically... Okay guys, we are going to continue on my phone because my camera overheated, which is something that never happened before. So I need to check my settings. Anyways, back to this book and back to how it compares to North and South. I mean, I don't want to do injustice to this book by comparing it to North and South and like, you know, thinking that this book is not good on its own, because it totally is. If you never read North and South, you would still like, you know, adore this book. But I think I understand why people compare it to North and South based on the characters and how the characters interact with each other. Our main character, the female main character, Sophie, she's very bold and she's very headstrong, and she is the one who's technically keeping her family afloat and happy and alive, because again, her father is incredibly reckless. And Edward, our main character, male main character, he actually responds to Sophie and her behavior that was kind of like, you know, weird at a time in a very positive manner. Like, it's not something that actually bugs him. So it's very much like a Mr. Thornton-like behavior. And also, and I think again that this is something that is very similar to North and South, there is a lot of prejudice in this book. There is a lot of miscommunication in this book, especially in the beginning, but honestly, I would say like even throughout the book, but especially in the beginning. And honestly, like towards the end, it really got to me. I just wanted to get into the book and just shake the characters and be like, can you just like sit down and talk to each other? Because the miscommunication at this stage is actually really ridiculous. And that was also something that really reminded me again to North and South. There was one thing that really surprised me in this book. I am the kind of reader who usually loves secondary characters, and I really like their stories. If the secondary characters are good and they have a story and it's fleshed out, I eat it all up. In this book, I hated every single secondary character. I couldn't stand them. And that actually made the story like a little bit harder for me. But regardless of the continuous miscommunication and regardless of the shitty secondary characters, this is a book that I can easily recommend. And I cannot wait to pick up the other book by the author, probably in my next vlog. And that's gonna be The Lost Letter. I'm so happy. I'm so happy when I have a successful reading experience and when I find books that I truly like, I adore, and I can honestly and openly recommend. Well, now guys, I am going to finish this vlog here. I cannot wait to edit this vlog and to finally upload this vlog, because it's been in the works for like a good couple of days now. Do you think? Hit share, like, and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already done so, you are welcome here. And I see you soon in another upcoming Bookmas vlog. Bye!